America. I say, hold up, wait a minute. Something ain't right. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Here are your hosts, Jake Crockelman and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
Spring is in. You've got another practice here. Spring is number 8 for Nebraska. Nick Gator was out there to take a picture this morning. We'll kind of maybe the Husker coaches later on see what we saw from today. A little bit to break down there. Of course, the NCAA championship game last night. San Diego State fight for a national team comes up a little bit short, but their head coach did say something post game that I thought was interesting that we can jump into. That and Travis Kelce has a music festival that he's going to host. Kind of see that the Kelce Jam, that's what it's called. It's going to be during NFL draft weekend. The NFL draft in Kansas City, so it could be a short drive for some of us. If you want to go to Kelce Jam, the event will feature performances by Machine Gun Kelly, Rick Ross, as Tech Nine, City Rap legend. Rico, any interest in going to Travis Kelce's music festival?
I have never been to a music festival, and I think Travis Kelce's will be my first.
I think that'd be a good way to bring you in.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you go to a music festival to kind of get the lay of the land, or you just jump right into losers?
Just jump right. The only music festival I've ever been was in Las Vegas at the Motor Speedway for EDC. There's like 250,000 people there throughout the nights or whatever.
Yeah, is that
jump right
go right into something wild?
Yeah, that way. Well, I guess I've been to, the Lincoln has their music festival now. The Lincoln Calling, I think is what it's called. I've been to that one. The Lincoln Music Festival.
Just keep it simple.
Yeah, but as far as I want to see how big. I don't envision years after he retires there'll be a jam. Yeah, I don't know.
What is it? The week before or the weekend draft? When is it?
Up the weekend of the NFL draft.
Yeah. So is he just that Travis Kelce music festival follows the NFL draft? Wherever the draft is, where the music festival is.
It's not a bad idea. Not the camera will be down there. It's during the draft weekend. So you're kind of thinking usually they do first round, second, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
Later round.
Is it going to be?
That's a good question.
It's in Kansas City.
Yeah. I'm not. I like some music as much as the next guy. I don't think Machine Gun Kelly.
Machine Gun Kelly.
That's not.
No,
actually, the car I bought came with a Machine Gun Kelly CD in it. And
did you like it? Did you listen to the whole thing?
I tried. I gave it a shot.
You know what? It's for me.
It was his. He's a rapper. His rock. Some Lil Wayne even do like a little
rap.
And it was terrible. I couldn't listen to it. It's still in my car. I don't have the CD player.
I do.
Do you play CDs?
Time to time, yeah. Mostly we have the Conto CD and Ellie like. So that's
kids.
It's stuff. We'll do that. But I have some CDs from when I was in college. Like I bought some, and I just thought I didn't download music on my phone because I was like I had too much. I don't have enough space for the music as well. So I get CDs, and it's okay. Like it's the same thing. So I still have a couple of those in the car, and we have 2 M&M. I don't even know which Slim Shady LP, and something else we have in Rachel.
But the kids.
No, the kids don't listen to that one. That is word pass.
I collect.
Or should I let the kids listen to it?
No,
let the kids listen to some Eminem, some old Eminem.
I don't think so.
Are we sure?
I'm never getting away with parenting kids.
I want that kid to know.
This was real rap.
Know your rap history.
That's right. I collected CDs back then. I still have the booklets and all that stuff, and like a back down set. I obviously stopped collecting at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Now I obviously also don't use my CD player in my car, and I'm wondering when they're going to take this out because you can just put your phone in and listen to whatever you want to.
Well,
you don't have to listen to CDs.
I was going to keep
that.
I was going to keep the jacket, but so I guess he can keep it. whatever.
I wanted to open. I wanted to ask Brian Dutcher, San Diego State head coach. Short last night, and congratulations to UConn. They did with their title since '99. It has its own with it. And you can get to that in a second. But Brian Dutcher, San Diego State and FSU were proof you don't need millions in NIL win. With a big tournament, the NCAA tournament, it's not going to be filled with teams with an abundance of NIL, and it's special for those teams to make the run. Do you agree with it going into the future? Because it's kind of directly combating what he said just maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, where he was saying the sport is just the NIL teams are going to be the teams that put down the net.
Look, it's been proven before NIL that the most dominant teams with the most talent don't always win. And that's been proven with Duke year in and year out, or Kentucky year in and year out. They'll get that year
recruiting.
Yeah, that year that Duke had the top 3 recruits in the nation on the same team, they lost in the Sweet 16. Kentucky's done it year in and year out, getting at least 3 of the top 50 players in the country to go to Kentucky, and they barely win the national championship. I mean, this year they had a down year for Kentucky standards, which is still a pretty good year for other schools. But they weren't a very high seed this year in the tournament, and they didn't make it to the Sweet 16 or I don't remember when they got eliminated, but they didn't make it to the Elite Eight. I can say that. So
most of those Kentucky teams, the John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins,
exactly. Like how many of the Kentucky teams with players that you can name, players in the NBA or that were in the NBA and had pretty good careers in the NBA, didn't win national titles? Like Anthony Davis won a national title. Karl Anthony Towns didn't. John Wall, I don't think John Wall did.
No.
DeMarcus Cousins, like those guys, they didn't win national titles.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a little bit different with NIL because you might be able to get maybe a couple more talented players, but even then, there's going to be a lot of money that you're shelling out, and you still have to worry about the synergy of the team. Everybody has to get along. Everybody has to complement each other on the court. So even if you're out there getting all of the top players, it doesn't mean that your team is going to play as well together as a FAU or as a San Diego State, or even UConn is a. Are they a blue blood? That's the discussion we can have later. UConn's a blue blood, but even then, I don't know if this is an NIL heavy team. Like Adama Sanogo, was his 4th year at UConn. I wouldn't say that he was a guy that was NIL driven to go to UConn. So UConn winning the national title isn't like the same as if a Kentucky in this day and age won the national title, or a Duke, or a North Carolina, or a Kansas. Those teams that have the money and are going to pour all of it into basketball. Like UConn is going to pour a lot of money into basketball, but I feel like the women's basketball team is going to get a decent chunk of change as well. So I do believe, I kind of agree that NIL is going to change the game, but I don't think it's going to be as drastic as people are maybe worried about it being, because these teams that have been dominant for so long, I mean, we don't know it, but we all know that it was already some type of NIL dealings going on with a lot of these teams. So now it's just going to be out in the open, and it's going to be the ability to do it legally. I don't think it's going to change things very much. You're still going to have your upsets. You're still going to have your Cinderella stories. Maybe you get less and less teams winning national titles in less and less teams that are an NIL heavy winning national titles, but that's already how it was.
Yeah, there already is the haves and the have-nots, and for what it's worth, I think that's what makes college sports, kind of separates it from professional sports, right? We all talk about parity and wanting everything to be equal, but I don't think you really want that in a field of 100, plus teams. Obviously, in college basketball, like 300 plus teams, you don't want everybody on the same playing field. That's what makes this tournament special, is when you get the upsets, when you get the St. Peter's somehow basically coming out of a broom closet and knocking off the top teams. That's what makes the event special to me. I don't think it's going to change. I'm with you. I'm with San Diego State's head coach here. Is that it's still that element of surprise is still going to be there, and it really is. I think to your point, this has already been going on. This is recruiting. Their top teams have been getting the top players. If you could shell out more money, that's another another deal to it, but it's not going to change. It's not more available top players for them to get. There's only a certain amount that you can do, and those teams don't always win the championship. So I agree with you there. You mentioned UConn, their win last night. For what it's worth, they're the favorite to win next year's NCAA tournament now from Caesars Sportsbook. How much do you look into that? I don't know. North Carolina was preseason number one last year.
I don't even know who's going to be on UConn's team next year. I don't know who the seniors are or anything like that. And also another thing before we get on to that is this year and last year and what have you for, I don't know, maybe another year or two, some of these smaller schools are benefiting from the COVID epidemic. Benefiting from it, but benefiting from the fact that COVID gave everybody an extra year. Those top teams are still out trying to get those top tier players. So you have guys on those teams who, maybe they are good, but they're not good enough to beat out a guy who's 3 years younger than he is, who fresher legs, more spry, and all this. So those guys, those top tier players that maybe didn't get as many minutes or are going to lose their minutes to younger guys, are transferring to smaller schools to get a chance to shine and get a chance to put their names back into the spotlight. So these smaller schools, maybe not a Fairleigh Dickinson or what's the other school this year that was like super tiny, maybe an FAU, I don't know, that got some upsets this year. Maybe not in the future will these things happen. Maybe you'll see less of those less upsets in March Madness. You'll still have a couple. But those top tier players who are transferring out of those blue blood schools to get more playing time, that is a direct result of the COVID epidemic giving everybody an extra year, and the transfer portals. It's not the beginning of the transfer portal. It's just the fact that it's been given a name and it's easier to access players or easier to see who's in the portal. But that being in its beginning stages, and again, I still think it's all going to even out. NIL in the future isn't going to be, Nigel Pack getting however much he got from a Miami booster, who, by the way, I think he's like filing for bankruptcy or something like that. So that's going to be something all on its own.
Yeah.
Sorry, our lights just flashed. That was terrifying for a second. Where was I? I don't know. It's all going to even out. You might have less upsets once these like 6th and 7th year seniors end up graduating or declaring for the draft or going overseas to play professionally. But I still believe that the NIL landscape is going to even out, and you're not going to have $1 million deals for players.
Yeah, I mean, in basketball, I could see it maybe more so in football with kind of like the major names. I mean, you have to think Zion Williams or someone like that was coming out at that time. That's going to draw a lot of interest right now. Bronny James. I mean, you don't look at maybe example. Bronny James is valued way ahead of even Archie Manning, who's kind of in the same camp on the football side.
How much do you think Victor Wembanyama would be making if he was in college? If he didn't go to the G League, if he would have, I know he's from France, but if he would have came over here and went to college for a year and didn't go to the G League, how much do you think he'd be making? He'd be making more than he is in the G League.
Yeah. I think it would be in the millions. I mean, it might be. I'm not really sure. But that would be pretty crazy. We'll see how, again, we don't really have guardrails on all this. We're thinking in the future, you might start to institute some of those, but we'll just kind of see how it plays out. This is just kind of the way it all works out when the NCAA just one day says, never mind, we're going to start a battle. Go ahead and do whatever you want.
Yep.
And now whatever you want is happening.
So we're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is a bad idea.
But at the end of the day, UConn, again, rises up to win the championship. We can talk a little bit about this, too, in comparison. Like, what does UConn basketball have that Nebraska basketball doesn't? There are a lot of things, right, as far as wins and stuff. But when you think about it, like 1999 is a good building point, not just from Nebraska football and their conference championship, but Nebraska basketball has made one NCAA tournament appearance. And in that same time, UConn's won 5 national championships with 3 different head coaches in 2 different conferences. What is so much better about Storrs, Connecticut than Lincoln, Nebraska? Maybe we could jump into that a little bit. Also, some Husker football talk coming next year on the Ticket Water Cooler 93.7 The Ticket.
Chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years, changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal would make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to NovotnyNutritionandWellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
There's never been a better time to earn more on your checking account. Open a free Kasasa Cash checking account with Liberty First Credit Union and earn up to 5.5% APY for up to $40,000. It's simple. Open your Kasasa Cash checking account online or stop into any of the 4 Lincoln locations or Seward and Omaha branches. Liberty First makes switching easy, and Kasasa checking is always free. See libertyfirstcu.com for details. Federally insured by NCAA. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose.
Excuse me, I'm conducting research on consumers' attitudes about cash. Would you like to participate?
Sure.
Question 1. Would you rather win this stack of cash or this can of wax beans?
The cash.
Question 2. Would you rather win this stack of cash or this oven mitt?
The cash.
There you have it. Research shows people love cash, which is good because Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery is back. Until April 18th, buy a 2x2 ticket, enter the voucher number, and you could win $5,000 or $500. If your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket or a multiple of 7 ticket, your prize is doubled. There will be 7 weekly drawings and 14 total winners in Cash Blast. So play today.
I don't know much about research, but maybe you should compare the cash to something more upscale, like a trip.
Good idea. Question 3. Would you rather win this stack of cash or a trip to the Antarctic weather station?
You don't know much about research either, do you?
2x2 top prize odds, 1 in 105,000.
Spring is here. It's time to get back outside and into proper shoes this year. Brown Shoe Fit is the place to buy this spring with their sale on athletic shoes. Get $10 off any athletic shoe $105 and under, and get $15 off any shoe over $105. Choose from respected brands like Hoka, Brooks, New Balance, On, and 361 Running. And don't forget the trendy Hey Dudes. A new shipment just arrived for the season. Start your spring off right at Brown Shoe Fit, just south of 66 and Q in Lincoln.
Motor Food is Lincoln's hardest rocking food truck and cafe. Motor Food creates old school comfort food with a 21st century twist and lots of rock and roll attitude. Try the barbecue pulled pork mac and cheese, the grilled chicken Firebird sandwich, a 100% all beef split grilled hot dog, and any version of their funky fries. Stop by the cafe just behind Outback Steakhouse on 48th Street, or catch the food truck out and about all spring and summer. Check out their menu or a carryout or schedule catering at motorfoodtruck.com.
Are you looking for a solid, stable career in assembly, CNC machining, or injection molding? We got you covered. Hi, Bob Williams, HR Director for Garner Industries, a world-class manufacturer with a 70-year history right here in Lincoln. And I just listed some great career opportunities that you can find by logging into GarnerIndustries.com. If you want top pay, excellent benefits, flexible work hours, and the opportunity to work in a clean, modern, air-conditioned facility with great people, contact me today by applying online at GarnerIndustries.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here with Chevrolet GMC Truck Month at Koppel, and we are pulling out all the stops for this gigantic event. The lots are starting to fill, and we have some great deals for you way in Louisville. Brand new GMC Sierra Light Duty and new Silverado Light Duty trucks. All trim levels have up to $4,000 in discounts. That's right, up to $4,000 off all new light duty trucks right now at Koppel. So do not wait. Now time to buy a new truck. Stop on in or visit us online at koppelcars.com. You must have a trade-in and finance with Koppel. All deals with Roof Credit.
There's a lot of realtors in Lincoln, but don't get overwhelmed by all the news. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realtor Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate is your go-to option when buying or selling residential and commercial property. Ben's team offers unbeatable customer service and promises to make the buying and selling process as stress-free as possible. Call Ben today at 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Ambassador Real Estate. No pressure, just professionalism.
It's April, and that means the school year is almost over and summer road trips are on the horizon. Stop telling yourself you'll upgrade your car someday and do it now. Mullen Motors lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 40th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
I'm Brian. At 58, doctors told me I had the heart of a 37-year-old man. They told me that after my heart transplant surgery. If you're a smoker, here are some tips in case that happens to you. First, you have to quit smoking before you can get on a list for a transplant. So quit now. and never feel sorry for yourself. I don't. I only feel sorry for that 37-year-old man.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Decreasing cloud cover and a warm day on the way. We'll top out near 73. Winds out of the south-southeast at around 15 to 20. Very slight chance of showers this evening into tonight. A low of around 29. Windy and cooler tomorrow. Northwest winds gusting over 30 and a high of only around 50. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back to the Ticket Water Cooler on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the Ticket Water Cooler. Very happy here at the Ticket because we were well fed today, thanks to Motor Food, who has they have a food truck as well as a spot over there at 48th and Vine behind Outback. Great mac and cheese today. They're going to kind of sample us throughout. We're going to get spoiled throughout the weeks and try a lot of their different foods. But the mac and cheese, as we start here today, delicious. We had 4 different types. My favorite was I always like buffalo chicken flavor.
I might have to try that one.
Yeah.
I had the barbecue, I think it's brisket. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But listen, everybody, I got another hour after this.
Mm-hmm.
If I fall asleep, blame Motor Food because that food is delicious. It's very filling, and I am feeling good right now. I could take a nap right now. It'd be good. I don't know when I'd wake up, but I'd be good.
Yeah. Well, it's not good to eat right after you get a full stomach, or fall asleep. I mean, right after you have a full stomach. There, maybe you should try your best to stay up and move.
I don't know, man. That gave me the itis. I'm gonna pass out real quick. It'll be all right. We'll be fine.
Some news that's just coming across the timeline here is that Caitlin Clark has, of course, we all expected her to win the Naismith Award, so she did do that. So congratulations to her. Also, I was reading, not offended. She was asked about Angel Reese's late game gestures, so I don't think there should be any criticism for what she did. Not surprising because Caitlin Clark, of course, does the same.
Yeah,
thing.
I don't like. That's the thing is, she doesn't care, and the players, again, regardless of what you say, they gave Caitlin her props after the game, even if they were, still kind of talking trash. They're like, "Look, she's a great player. She's really good at what she does." But we won, so put some respect on her name. We're not talking about Iowa and Caitlin Clark. Speaking of not talking about Iowa and Caitlin Clark because they didn't win, why are we going to take them to the White House?
I don't think we will. But Jill Biden thought that'd be a good idea. Again, I mean, you can. I can see her intent. I shouldn't say I can see both sides. I can see her intent of trying to raise. I mean, she was kind of talking about Title IX and all the steps they've taken, and Caitlin Clark has, quite honestly, as part of that Iowa team, drawn a lot of eyeballs from across the nation for people that wanted to see it. So it was, I mean, this was a big year for women's basketball as far as publicity goes. So I understand the viewpoint. But that does not pay any tradition to the tradition of going to the White House to be the champion. Runners, I mean, that's just not how it's.
So is San Diego State gonna go?
I don't think so. And also, by the way, with that game too, did you enjoy? I've been asking you this for a while because I'm leaning, and I love college basketball. I love the home atmospheres.
But
I love Nebraska basketball. But the products sometimes can be tough to watch. San Diego State. I think if I had to watch San Diego State play Virginia, I'd rather stab myself in the eyes.
Virginia and old school West Virginia.
San Diego State went 7 minutes without a bucket?
Yeah, no, they went
8.
I think they went 11.
Time.
I think they went 11 minutes without a bucket, 11 or 12 without a bucket. Without a field goal made. They made like 4 free throws during that span. But it was not the best style of basketball. The fact that they were only down 12 at half is amazing. And I thought at the time, if you're San Diego State, you take that. That you should be down by 20. Dan Hurley said he's like, we should be up by 20 right now. He complimented the refs because he was slightly upset, but he complimented them as to avoid a fine. But it was rough. The passes by San Diego State weren't very crisp, but you could credit UConn's defense on that. San Diego State was a team that wanted to get in the paint and kind of bang bodies, but the problem is Sunogo and UConn's other center were just bigger than anybody that San Diego State had. So when they tried to get down there and pound the post, they were just getting stood up. They were getting stonewalled and couldn't get those shots off. So their specialty kind of went away. They tried shooting threes. They hit on a couple of them, but that wasn't their game. So it was a struggle for San Diego State to get going. They finally did towards the middle-ish of the second half, but that first half was just hard to watch, man. Like it started off pretty good. Like the way that the game started, I was like, okay, we've got ourselves a game. San Diego State was up 10-6 in the first couple of minutes, and I was like, all right, we're gonna have ourselves a game. And then immediately, UConn's defensive pressure turned up, and San Diego State couldn't buy a bucket.
Yeah, I mean, I know, and I know like some people too. I don't like to watch the NBA because of no defense or whatever. Just to me, the product, you're not going to have 11-minute scoring drives. You're going to have athleticism that's going to be able to overcome those sort of things. But the other thing was, to me, is just like watching this tournament and watching last night's game again reminded me like college basketball is like watching. People miss and ones more often than like that's what I think you have to like appreciate the people that were really good at it. Palmer for a few years ago for Nebraska, really good at finishing his and ones. Last night I noticed that like this is a big difference between this and the NBA is that these guys are never finishing their and one opportunities.
No, it's very very few and far between. It just circles out and just falls off, and you hear them all with and one, and it's like no, dude, that's not going in.
Yeah.
Or they just like my pet peeve is that you don't have a shot at the basket, so you just like jump into the defender and throw the ball up, and sometimes the ref bails you out and sometimes they don't, and I'm just like there was no like you should have tried to pass out or something because that was just not it. That was not it.
Bob Sin asks if his FAU ping pong ball does that get anything for going to the Final Four?
I'll have to talk to management.
Oh yeah, you try to make a deal for him.
No, he made the Final Four. I think that we were giving him for Final Four, something for Final Four. Okay. But then something big for the champion. I don't know, so I'll have to check with management.
A couple of the other texts, two people chiming in that their cars, like 2015-16 cars, don't have CD players in them. Well, that's good because I don't have a new car, so I don't really know what it's like. But I do know that, or a newer car. But I have wondered and thought. They really don't need CD players in there anymore. People don't have CDs.
Yeah, they probably don't. A lot of them are just touchscreen now. So and you don't even have like the aux cord. It's just your phone connects with the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So we have Bluetooth in our car, but it's not like fancy Bluetooth. It's just for calling. And sometimes when I go to take that car with the Bluetooth, that's what my wife usually drives. So I'll turn it on if she's in the house talking to somebody. I'll turn it on to go somewhere. It automatically connects to her phone. So all of a sudden, whoever she was talking to is on the phone. And I'm like, I don't want to say anything. I'm like, and I don't want to hang up. So I try to like back out and like get away from the house as fast as I can so she can get the call back. But I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
I'm like a spy. My phone does that too. It connects to my car, and it is frustrating because whenever I'm like trying to answer, like it's nice if it just like automatically connects to your radio or whatever, and you can hear like the in the car. But mine, for some reason, it only like does it half the time. Half the time I can't hear what's going on. It's like halfway in between connecting. Like I'm just trying to take a phone call. I don't care. Like it's kind of convenient if it's in the car. If it's not, then I can just hold up to my ear or put it on speakerphone. But I'm just in like this middle of where is it? I can't hear
what is happening.
Is it connected? I can't hear what's going on. So that could be frustrating. I asked the question, what's kind of the difference between UConn's opportunities, how they're such a dominant program? We're talking about maybe including them in the blue blood list, and I think you have to, which is interesting when you take it over the college football discussion, because we always go back to, well, you have to have done it for decades and decades, and UConn hasn't. UConn started winning their titles in 1999, have since won 5. For what it's worth, Duke kind of went on a similar one with Coach K. It's not like they were dominating before Coach K. But so it kind of begs the question, can you add a blue blood at this point? And I think if you get enough titles, I think you can. If they already were past Kansas, surpassed Kansas, and then last night with a victory, tied Duke and Indiana. Those are all blue bloods. I mean, you're right in there in the discussion. I get it. I mean, we kind of try to say like new bloods, like the Clemsons in college football. Oregon didn't win any titles, so they can't be there. But teams that that maybe you would consider, what would you hear from young guys when you say, well, Nebraska blue blood? Well, they haven't been very good since. Yeah, we understand. You don't understand what we're saying about blue bloods.
Well, neither is Indiana.
Different discussion. Well, Indiana's the Nebraska equivalent in college basketball.
Yeah.
But
I mean, UCLA hasn't won a title since 98, 97?
Yeah, somewhere around there, 90s, in the mid or late 90s.
Somewhere between 95 and 99.
It wasn't
That's what
98.
UCLA's last.
Yeah.
But I think it was 97.
I think it was. No, 97 might have been Arizona. I'm trying to think, because it was Ed O'Bannon in 96, I believe. We'll have to go back.
I don't know.
I
I know that it was somewhere between there.
It's been a long time. For
It
UCLA.
has.
Yeah.
The first I saw this. The first California team to win or to make the championship game of the Division I teams for men's basketball. The first team in 18 years, San Diego State, between UCLA, USC, Cal, and Stanford. I think was the other four, and they were like San Diego State.
Well, and that's surprising because the Florida teams that were two Final Four Florida teams.
Yeah,
and they're not Florida State, so that's kind of interesting too. But you never know in college basketball. A lot of programs. And who's going to pop up? And so overall, I think the year was fun. But just kind of comparing Nebraska to UConn, it's just so hard to do. They're in like different planets. But UConn again, this was their resurgent. They've had some down years. They hadn't won an NCAA tournament game under Hurley until this season. And then they, of course, pop it up. And I kind of went back to look like, is there just, now they're the team of the Northeast. I think that helps. Obviously, Nebraska is never going to surpass Kansas as the kind of destination spot.
Nope.
And in the Midwest, and of course, they're far away. There's other teams that you would put far ahead of Nebraska right now. But I was kind of looking like, is that it? Or is that who the guys like? Is that who they're recruiting? And so I was kind of looking at the past. There's a few examples of maybe like a Rip Hamilton, Kemba Walker. Those guys are from the Northeast, but some of the other guys, like a Ben Gordon's from England, Sonogos from Africa, Mecca Okafor is from Texas. So when you look at the championship teams, it's not necessarily dominated by Northeast guys, but there are some.
But they play roles.
There.
They play some pretty big roles. There's 7'3" center this year. The freshman, he's from Connecticut, I think. Yeah, he's from Connecticut.
Yeah.
He's 7'3", 240 some pounds.
And he's part of the reason they're preseason number one, because whether Sonogo leaves or not, people think he's going to be the next big center there.
Yeah, I mean, he's
and he
massive.
plays like
He's massive, and he plays really well.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something that they'll have in their back pocket. Well, not their back pocket, but they'll have him to kind of replace Sonogo, who even if he's not as physical, he's definitely got the size on everybody else. So it's. I don't know if it's regional recruiting or just the fact that since 1999 they have been just kind of in the limelight. Since 1999 they've had what? Let me just make sure. They've had 2 losing seasons. That's it, and they've missed the NCAA tournament 5, 6, 7. 8 times. Other than that, they've been in the tournament. I think that's something that's really good for them, despite even if without regional recruiting, just the fact that they're always relevant. They might not be, a top 10 team every single year, but they're always right there in the thick of things. If you pick UConn to win the national title, people aren't going to look at you sideways and think, oh, why would you pick them? So that goes a long way in recruiting, recruiting 18-year-olds, because when they grow up, as they've been growing up, they've seen UConn in the tournament doing things with players who are playing in the NBA right now, where some other teams like a Nebraska, they're not in the tournament every year. They've been in the tournament how many times?
Once since 1999. Since UConn's won 5 titles,
Nebraska's
3
been in the
different
tournament.
coaches and 2 different conferences.
Yeah,
Nebraska's been to one NCAA, played one NCAA tournament.
One time.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to try to name however many players from Nebraska have played in the NBA, but it's less than UConn.
It's probably less than UConn's team right now, or any of those championship teams.
So that's another reason for their stellar recruiting is even if they're in what city are they in?
Storrs, Connecticut.
Storrs, Connecticut.
Yeah.
I don't know what's in Storrs, Connecticut outside of the University of Connecticut.
That's it.
But
maybe some stores.
But that Storrs, Connecticut and Lincoln, Nebraska, I don't know how different they are. I can't imagine that they're terribly different, but the success is what's going to drive people there.
Yeah, and they, it's certainly they've got it going. They've got it rolling, and part of that again is almost I don't want to say that Tom Osborne, because there's differences. There's not direct comparisons,
Mhm.
right, for everything. But I think the Tom Osborne effect, with respect to Bob Devaney coming before, really putting him on the map. But what Tom Osborne did over such a long time really helps, and that's kind of what Jim Calhoun was there, and he was there kind of. Bob Devaney, Tom Osborne melted into one because he never left, and he stayed there forever and got them their first 3 titles. But that's how close Nebraska really is, and it can be difficult as far as retention and all that stuff. But I say that same thing in football and in college sports. I mean, if you get a good coach, and somebody texted that in earlier, and that's kind of maybe tongue in cheek and kind of a joke, but it also is just the very element of the truth is if you can get a good head coach to stay there. I mean, if Nebraska was able to get Jay Wright in the mid 2000s, where would they be now?
I mean, Jim Calhoun was at UConn from 86 to 2012, and he won 2 NCAA tournaments. He only had 1 losing record, and that was his first year. He was 9-19. After that, the closest was 15-13 in 1992-93, and they didn't make the tournament. But he'll go on stretches. He went on stretches of making the tournament 3 times, missed it, 3 times, missed it, 3 times, missed it, 5 times, missed it, twice, missed it, then won the tournament the next year, lost in the second round, and then he retired and Kevin Ollie took over.
Yeah, and it's crazy though that they've been able to. Kevin Ollie, I looked it up the other days, like with the like an NBA G League team or something. But it's crazy, and it's really weird because I don't know if there's just something in the water in UConn, because because their comparison now to me for college football is LSU, because I've been saying for years, if you can, LSU's won with 3 different coaches for the last 20 years or whatever. You don't have to have the best coach to win there, and I think the same thing can be said at UConn, but the difference is it's like LSU, there are like athletes everywhere. And
you don't have to leave the state.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the case for UConn, so it's a little bit different there. So but UConn, they've done it. So
look at them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Be jealous. I know I am.
Oh yeah, we are all pretty jealous here. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Nick Sander will jump in studio. He was at practice this morning. Maybe we'll talk to him a little bit about that. Plenty more in the sports world to break down. Coming up next year on the Ticket Water Cooler, 93.7 The Ticket.
Eric Services takes this time to wish everyone a happy Easter. We hope everyone is able to enjoy time with family and friends during this joyful celebration as we remember what this day and weekend are all about. This important message comes to you from Bart, Mike, and the folks at Herrick Services, your vending specialists here in Lincoln. Their quality service and expertise has earned them a fine reputation. That's Herrick Services, on the air because they care. Integrated Life has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln by offering a number of services. From group homes for special needs adults to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the intellectual and developmental disability services your loved one needs to live a fulfilling life. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a more rewarding career, learn more about available positions. Learn more about services for your loved ones or employment today at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Decreasing cloud cover and a warm day on the way. We'll top out near 73. Winds out of the south-southeast at around 15 to 20. Very slight chance of showers this evening into tonight. A low of around 29. Windy and cooler tomorrow. Northwest winds gusting over 30 and a high of only around 50. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Shopping for insurance can be a frustrating and tedious task. Brokers Insurance Agency in Lincoln has a full staff of licensed professional agents who will do the work all for you. Brokers utilizes over 20 insurance companies to save their clients money. Brokers Insurance Agency will always do what is in the client's best interest and will find the best program to fit your needs. Call Brokers Insurance Agency today at 402-420-5353 to get a quote today, or find us online at brokersinsurancenE.com.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $24.11 per hour, which grows to $28.27 per hour within 3 years. Skilled trade positions now start at $32.76 per hour with opportunities to make more based on certifications. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates, with increased bonuses and vacation for new hires. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
Excuse me, I'm conducting research on consumers' attitudes about cash. Would you like to participate?
Sure.
Question 1. Would you rather win this stack of cash or this can of wax beans?
The cash.
Question 2. Would you rather win this stack of cash or this oven mitt?
The cash.
There you have it. Research shows people love cash, which is good because Cash Blast from the Nebraska Lottery is back. Until April 18th, buy a 2x2 ticket, enter the voucher number, and you could win $5,000 or $500. If your winning voucher is from a 7-day draw ticket or a multiple of 7 ticket, your prize is doubled. There will be 7 weekly drawings and 14 total winners in Cash Blast. So play today.
I don't know much about research, but maybe you should compare the cash to something more upscale, like a trip.
Good idea. Question 3. Would you rather win this stack of cash or a trip to the Antarctic weather station?
You don't know much about research either, do you?
2x2 top prize odds, 1 in 105,000.
Hey there.
Hi, honey.
Uh-oh.
Remember we told Jamie and Mike about Liberty First Credit Union, how great their checking account and car loans are, the amazing service we get, and how we love being members?
Yeah.
Well, they took our advice. Jamie said how easy it was to move all their accounts and become members. Now they say they're banking with purpose at Liberty First Credit Union.
Learn more about being a member at libertyfirstcu.com. Liberty First Credit Union. Banking with purpose. Member NCUA.
I'm Brian. At 58, doctors told me I had the heart of a 37-year-old man. They told me that after my heart transplant surgery. If you're a smoker, here are some tips in case that happens to you. First, you have to quit smoking before you can get on a list for a transplant. So quit now and never feel sorry for yourself. I don't. I only feel sorry for that 37-year-old man.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
It's April, and that means the school year is almost over and summer road trips are on the horizon. Stop telling yourself you'll upgrade your car someday and do it now. Mullen Motors Lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride, as summer road trips are just around the corner. Mullen Motors.
No taglines, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
Welcome back, Husker fans. Eustace Body Shop is happy to welcome the best fans in college football back to Lincoln. With gold-class certified service, OEM parts, and free motor cars, Eustace Body Shop can call the right plays to keep you in the game. Whether it's in Lincoln at 88th and Highway 2, or at any of our other 5 locations across Nebraska, Eustace Body Shop can help get you back on the road. Go Big Red.
The most recommended Eustace Body Shop. That's who we are.
Rosie Sports Bar and Grill. Open for lunch and dinner at 10th and P or at 1501 Center Park Road.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Back to the Ticket Water Cooler. Brought to you by Wingstop on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here on the Ticket Water Cooler for our final segment before we make way for the happy hour. Nick Sander might join us. Might not. He might be eating some motor food out there in the hallways.
He said he's on the way.
He's jumping in here for the crossover as we get ready for happy hour. And it will be fun to talk with Nick because he's at practice this morning. And as we welcome in, Nick, how was practice this morning? I saw you get some pictures out there. Was there a little bit of media access?
Yeah, it was eventful. Thrilling, riveting stuff. No, I mean, it was good.
Hey, you get the opportunity to go to practice. A lot of Husker fans would love just to go to one.
Well, that's okay. That's true. I apologize. Geez, Bach, you're really putting me in my place there.
Well, I know. I'm letting you know. I understand. There's sometimes when you go as a media member, you say, I didn't really see anything because
Well,
there's not much going on.
unfortunately, so about for the first 20 minutes or so, it stretches,
Yeah.
which is fine. I mean, you get to see the guys, and then we being DP and I'll let DP give his own personal breakdown. Watched quarterbacks, and then watched one-on-one tackling drills as well. So, no, I mean it was good. I continue to say it. I love Evan Cooper. I would love watching Evan Cooper coach, just because he's a high energy guy. And the quarterbacks were interesting. We're gonna talk about this a little bit on the show, so I won't go too deep into it. But like, I'm always surprised not to see guys, even if they're injured or not cleared to play, not be a part of their position group. And so, I mean, the example I'm talking about is Casey Thompson. Casey Thompson, your starting quarterback from last year. I understand it was under a new regime, but the quarterbacks are inside the building while Casey is out on the outside field on the far east side just running. And I get it. I get it that, hey, you need to be doing something productive while you are unable to play, unable to throw, right? Not clear to throw. But I struggle to see where there wouldn't be value in having him there in that room with the younger guys. If there's, and this goes back to if there's going to be a true, authentic quarterback competition. And the more and more that I watch practice, the less and less likely I feel like there will be.
Interesting.
I mean, because here's the deal. There are things that Casey Thompson could be telling Richard Torres, who he's been teammates with for now 2 years, or Chubba Purdy, and even Logan Smothers to an extent. Because all the other workouts, the runs, the sprints, you can get those in any other time. But in that moment, there's such a thing, I think, as mental reps. I think there's such a thing also as being a veteran leader to your teammates, especially the guys in your position group. And every single now maybe on non-Tuesdays and non-media practices, he's in those rooms. I do not know. But every single time we've been there, quarterbacks have been far away from Casey Thompson. And so I wonder, I'm intrigued, like what happens now at the end of spring ball when the transfer portal opens up.
It is very interesting because he's and I heard them talk about this on early break too, is he's kind of unlike the others. Now he had a great arm, and obviously there's a big difference when he was playing and not. I've said this kind of all along with his career, whether at Texas or Nebraska, a bit turnover prone at times.
Is Jeff Sims not?
Well, right. Jeff Sims is as well. But the difference, I guess, here and with most of the quarterbacks is the running dynamic that they bring. Casey's capable, but he's not necessarily a runner, and you don't want him taking too many hits like he did last year from behind in the passing position. And you just, I think there's a great deal of value in having a running quarterback.
Oh, I agree.
And I think that seems to be the lean for this coaching staff, obviously. And they went out and found a starter in the portal. And so I was kind of surprised with that Casey was going to come back. But I don't understand how it would play out where, like, if they tell him by the end of spring, hey, we really like this guy, because it wouldn't be any different than what he played pre-spring, unless he can rehab a little bit better and get some sort of reps in. But doesn't seem like that was really ever the plan.
Well, I think if he comes back and is able to throw, if he comes back and is able to throw before the season starts, or by, close to the end of spring or whatever, and he's just far and away just more accurate and more pinpointing with his passes than the other quarterbacks, I think that'll really throw a wrench into what they're planning on doing. But I still think, with Casey coming back, I think that he would fit this offense pretty well outside of maybe the designated quarterback run plays. Like you said, he has the ability to run. We saw it a couple of times. He can do it, but I don't know if he was handcuffed or told not to run because of the injuries and because he's being hit so much behind the line of scrimmage already. They didn't want to take any more unnecessary hits. But I feel as if he has the ability to run and might not put that, fear in the defense that maybe a Jeff Sims or a Logan Smothers or a Heinrich Harburg, even a Chubba Purdy might. But he'll be able to get you a first down if you need it. He'll be able to scramble out of the pocket and get you a couple more yards. I don't know if he'll be able to break that, 50-yard touchdown run or anything like that. But I think his ability to throw the ball is so much better than the other quarterbacks in the room that maybe that'll make up for the difference in running ability.
I don't know. I think basically, I guess my point was remember last year during the season, and we all oohed and awed over Casey Thompson's responses and answers to breaking down an opponent, right? It was so detailed, and you could tell that he did his homework as much on the field as he did off the field. And so we know the work ethic away from the football field is there. We know the attention to detail is there with a guy like Casey Thompson. And so I sit here now this season, and that's – I mean, Casey Thompson, the off the field work, and this is not taking anything away from the other guys. We know who Casey Thompson is off the field, and we have a pretty good idea of who he is on the field as well. Off the field, we know, and I believe that that's somebody that you would want in a position group room to aid the younger guys with questions, with how to prepare for practice, with how to handle yourself, whether it's a bad rep, whether it's a good rep. How do you handle yourself? How do you read a cover? Like those little things. And I'm not saying Jeff Sims can't do it. I'm not saying Chuck Purdy's unable to read a defense. But those extra years of experience and then also being in that starting quarterback role last year is going to provide a benefit for this team and for that position group. I understand Jeff Sims was a starter, and I get that it's a new regime, a new staff, and a lot of times new staffs come in, they don't want the guys that were here before. I understand that, and that's just the way the cutthroat business is. But that's something that I always look for. Is where, hey, I wonder if Casey's with the quarterbacks. And that can be the same for every position group, whether that's, I wonder if this guy's with the offensive lineman today. I mean, that's like, for example, having a really young group, because Nebraska's quarterbacks are still, the guys that aren't young are very inexperienced. The guys that aren't young are very inexperienced. So you could basically say that their entire room is pretty young, right, in terms of game experience. And so that goes the same for any other position group. I mean, you look at the wide receivers, and it's like that's like saying Marcus Washington's hurt, but he's going to be over there running, and the oldest guy in the room is a guy in Billy Kemp that's just transferred in. That's nothing against Billy Kemp, but you're not Marcus Washington. You haven't been here like Marcus Washington has been, and that's like. So I feel like there's value there. I feel like there's potential benefit for not even Casey Thompson to take mental reps in the drills, but also for the younger guys to ask both Thompson and Jeff Sims questions, who are two older guys that we have yet to see Casey Thompson be a part of those groups.
Yeah, that is interesting. I can't wait for this quarterback battle. Like, I wish it was fully healthy.
Am I way off? Am I off on that?
I mean, maybe Casey's doing that outside of practice, and maybe he's doing right now is he's running to try to stay in shape since he's not able to throw still. He's able to do very limited throwing. You know, the reps that they're doing over there, maybe they're doing some things that he's not quite able to do quite yet. So he's just decided, and the coaches have decided, hey, go over here, keep your conditioning up. Do this while these guys are doing this. You're, like you said, you're one of the older statesmen in the room. You know this stuff, what we're doing. You don't need to be here to do that.
Maybe that's the case.
And maybe off the field,
working to like show and improve his running ability.
And maybe he's off the field in the film rooms, in the locker rooms, just out and about.
We know he's there.
Yeah.
We know he's in the film room.
No, but I'm saying out and about doing all that stuff. He's helping the younger guys to be prepared with that stuff, to read coverages, to be prepared for questions, to just helping them with their mental reps and their workouts outside of the practice facility. So maybe he's out there doing some other stuff, and since he can't throw quite yet, he's not with the quarterbacks, and being an older statesman, he can afford to miss some of these spring practices. Kind of like Ben Scott, who is injured, avoided a serious injury, I believe is what they said. But as Rule said, with an older guy like that, he can afford to miss the spring and still be ready.
I suppose. I think offensive line and quarterback are two different kind of positions, because offensive line, there's a much more likely chance that you're hurt in practice rather than a quarterback. With quarterback, I mean, there was no defenders. You're wearing green jerseys. Like I think there's that with Ben Scott that I think they might be a little more cautious with. And Justin asked, are there previous ties with Jeff Sims and Matt Rule and his staff? So the way I understand it is that Matt Rule used to coach with Jeff Collins. Jeff Collins used to be the head coach at Georgia Tech. Jeff Sims in the portal. Jeff Collins got fired from Georgia Tech. He called up Matt Rule, was like, hey man, this guy's a surefire NFL guy. You guys need to look at him. Matt Rule looked him up, and while he was in Carolina, watched a lot of Georgia Tech games for some reason, he said, and so he ended up
bring in Jeff Sims. But I mean, that is part of the story is the NFL potential that they see in Jeff Sims.
Yeah.
That's why it's hard for me to see, if this is indeed a quarterback battle with Casey Thompson. I mean, there's just that's where it ends. I mean, the younger guys, it's exciting to say maybe the younger guys can get better, but from what we saw last year, outside of Richard Torres, who we didn't get to see, and Harburg, who didn't, I mean, I that tells me those guys are way far away from D1 starters that are either one should be starting at a Power 5 school somewhere.
I'll tell you this: Richard Torres is fun to watch throw. He doesn't necessarily fit that running quarterback kind of mentality, mold that we're talking about. He's probably a little more poor of a runner than Casey Thompson is, but like he can sling it, and so I don't know. Like at the beginning of the spring, I was pretty confident that there's going to be a battle between Casey Thompson and Jeff Sims. The more and more I watch practice, and the more and more I hear, the less confident I feel in that happening.
The more you think it's just Sims.
The more I think it's just Sims, and the more I feel like Nebraska's losing 2 quarterbacks to the portal.
Yeah, we'll see. The spring, obviously, some of those scholarship numbers got to be brought down one way or the other. Big quarterback room, you might expect to see some movement there. That'll wrap it up for the Ticket Water Cooler. Happy hour coming up next year on 93.7 The Ticket. Once again, thanks to Motor Food for providing us our food today. Delicious mac and cheese. If you want to give them a try, and we would encourage you to do so, our full bellies say so, head over to 48th and Vinebrook over there by Outback. They've got a shop set up there, and pretty soon, I think he said they didn't have the food truck out today, but pretty soon it's going to be booked and moving around Lincoln, so look out for that as well. For myself, Jake Bachman, that'll wrap it up. Rico and Nick coming up next here on the Happy Hour.